Hello, Francine Juhlin here, the founder of Parents Talk. I am here with Rebecca Engle,
Hmm?
and we are going to have this lovely conversation today about neurodiversity and how it really isn't a bad thing because these beautiful little children have so many strengths that the rest of us might not have. So first, I'm going to ask Rebecca to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Well, I'm Rebecca Engle. I'm a special education teacher, author, and advocate, and I'm passionate about creating inclusive educational environments for our neurodivergent students. Um, my journey into education was shaped by my own experiences. I was nonverbal until I was 5 years old, and I often navigated a world that didn't understand or support my needs. And growing up with learning delays, and I was placed on an IEP until I was in fifth grade. It gave me firsthand experiences of the challenges many of our neurodivergent students face in traditional school systems. However, rather than letting these challenges limit me, I use them to fuel my drive for desiring change. And I know what it feels like to be misunderstood, underestimated, or simply passed over because my needs didn't fit into a conventional mold. And now I'm 22 years old. I'm working on my master's degree and I'm teaching full time.
Wow, what an accomplishment. Yay. And I can imagine that they try to fix you rather than just accept this is who you are and try to work with what you have and all your special talents. They try to
Mhm.
fix you to fit into this mold that you didn't fit in. Is that true?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what do you do when parents start trying to fix their kids now?
So that's a belief I've carried throughout my whole career. And it's central to my approach as both a teacher and an advocate. I strongly believe that neurodiversity is not something that needs to be fixed. It is a natural and beautiful variation in the way people's brains function and process the world, whether that be autism, ADHD, dyslexia, or any other neurodivergent trait. These differences should not be viewed as deficiencies. They are simply another way of being, a way of thinking, and a way of experiencing the world that can often offer remarkable strengths and valuable insights. As an educator, I've seen firsthand the incredible abilities that neurodivergent students bring to the table. Students who have the ability to focus deeply on subjects that others might often look, students who think creatively and solve problems in ways that others never considered. I've even seen students who possess a level of empathy and passion that can deeply impact those around them. These are not disabilities; they are gifts, and when we support and nurture these gifts, we allow these students to thrive.
And you know what? You bring up all of these gifts, and I work with a lot of neurodivergent adults. And I'll tell you what, some of them are like the best at Excel spreadsheets because they have that concentration on those little details. And I love having them on my teams because, well, I'm a vision person. And then I get these detail oriented people on my teams to keep me on track with all the details of these huge visions I have. Do you
Yeah.
see this in your students, and how do you encourage them to find what it is that's special about them and nurture those talents?
Yeah. I I think what I do is I teach my students that they're not broken through the power of literature. There's so many great books out there that teach kids through experiences um, the their needs and what they need to succeed. And sadly, our educational system is still focusing on fixing what is perceived as broken rather than celebrating the unique abilities of our neurodivergent students. And this is something that I'm working to change every day I go into my classroom. And it's a shift of narrative. You have to shift the narrative from fixing to supporting. And you can recognize the strengths and continue to bring them out in a child. Um, take their special interest, take their thing that they use for emotional regulation, and implement it into their core subjects. I have a kid who likes cutting paper, so for math, we're going to cut 6 pieces of paper, add it to 7 pieces of paper. Like that's if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. Bring out your child's strengths, bring out the strengths of the kid rather than suppressing them because it's time for academics.
What I'm hearing is what we term as normal learners are the children who don't have all these special abilities that their neurodivergent have. In my opinion, they would benefit from these learning styles too. How much more fun would it be to learn by cutting up paper and adding them up rather than the old-fashioned way of writing it down? Back in my day, we used to copy off the blackboard and memorize things. I think if we took lessons from the neurodivergent community, it would be more interesting for everybody around. Now,
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Hmm.
Do the children recognize that some of these students are different, or do they just grow up thinking, oh, this is just Bob? That's how Bob acts?
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm a special ed teacher, so every student I interact with does have special needs. And I think that sometimes they do. I think when the kids are more severe need, but I think sometimes they don't. It's funny because the one of my gen ed classes that I go into, the teacher will say, everybody who works with Miss Ingle, go to the back with Miss Ingle, like during this 30 minutes for math, which is fine. And I have like 8 other kids that aren't mine who are like, I want to work with Miss Ingle. Miss Ingle can be my teacher. How do I get into Miss Ingle's room? And it's just funny because it's like, I don't like, if they knew that they were disabled and they knew that these kids were, you know, differently abled and, running through these things, how do you think those kids would respond that same way, right? Like, do you really think that they would want to be at the back table with me, Like, so I feel like it depends on the kid. I think that they know, but they don't care.
Because you're having fun. They just want to have fun with you
Yes.
because you make learning fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, you're a children's book author. And as you could see, I'm a children's book author. I have my own children's book authors group that we meet every Friday at 3:30 on Zoom. So if any of you listening today are a children's book author, drop a note in the comment and ask for the link to join us Friday at 3:30. Find out what other authors are doing to promote our books because we are on a mission to get more books into more hands. So, what I want to know, Rebecca, is what is the special mission of your children's book?
Yeah. So, all of what I've talked about today, one of the ways I strive to amplify this message is through my book. My book is Step Into My Shoes. This book is a reflection of my experiences growing up as a neurodivergent individual and the experiences of my students. The story follows my character named Rocky. She's a special education student, and as she navigates the world of school, friendships, and self-discovery, um, Rocky, like many of my students and myself, had to overcome obstacles that are often invisible to others. And through this journey, we get to see the strength, resilience, and determination that emerges when a child feels understood and supported. It's not just a book, it's an invitation to parents, teachers, and readers to step into the shoes of a neurodivergent child and to experience the world through their eyes. It encourages empathy, fosters understanding, not only for the challenges these students face, but literally for every situation. Um, the book was designed to challenge the stereotypes and misconceptions about neurodiversity, replacing them with a message of acceptance and empowerment. One of the key themes of my book is that neurodivergent students do not need to be fixed and cured. Instead, they need to be supported and encouraged to grow in a way that aligns with their unique brain wiring. In my own life, I found that when I'm given the space to be myself, um, and when I'm supported in my learning and expression, I achieve things I never thought were possible. I want the same thing for my students. I want the same thing for our children, a world where they are given the time and tools to thrive without being made to feel that there is something inherently wrong with them. And through my book, I hope to give parents, educators, and caregivers the insight and tools that they need to help neurodivergent children feel valued and understood.
And to let them know that there's really nothing wrong with them. They just have a different way of thinking, a different way of learning, and a different way of communicating. It's not wrong. It's just different.
Yes. Yes.
So if you want to find out more about Rebecca and her mission, just check out the comments. There'll be all the different ways you could get in touch with her and how to find her book. And you could also get on the newsletter, which is the Confidence Club, that's now for the whole family. Because I recognize that sometimes parents need more confidence to step outside of the box and think differently than their peers. So, in the Confidence Club newsletter, or I don't know, maybe I should have a contest on what to name it. I haven't figured out what to name it yet, the Sparkle Feathers newsletter, but it's a newsletter that's going to offer activities for the kids, great book reviews like we just did, with information for parents about different topics that parents are going through. It's going to have lots of cool information, lots of free programs to get into, lots of free stuff, lots of fun, just really fun. Because if you join the newsletter today, you'll get your first activity, which you and your child will design their own superhero. Get those creative juices flowing. Find out what's important to your kid. Do they want to fly? Would they rather be invisible? Why? Why would they want to be invisible? Do they want a cape, or how do they want to dress? Have you ever done an activity like that with your kids?
Yeah, I have. I've done tons of different activities that have embraced their needs. We do a lot of math activities where they get to express themselves, and a lot of reading activities where we get to jump into the character shoes and kind of become the character. We've even done, I bring candy, and we've laid out candy to do different place values and numbers. And we've done tons of stuff with bowling pins, even. Where we've hit bowling pins to determine our hundreds, tens, and ones place values, and done subtraction that way. Um, I uh, I've never given any of my kids, except for their when they're in their general ed classroom, when they're required to do it. None of my kids have ever seen a worksheet inside of my classroom. I'm a pull-out support teacher, and I've never assigned a worksheet in my time teaching.
Wow, that's amazing, because back when I was in school, that's all we got was worksheets. Here, sit at your desk and do that.
Mhm.
So, is there any last message you want to tell parents?
Yeah. I always tell people I see humans like a Rubik's Cube. Don't let people pull your stickers off. Um, I have seen the difference it makes when we rush a child and we try to discover them quickly, and we don't allow them to be themselves. And we don't allow them to find their own identity. If we rip the stickers off a Rubik's Cube and place those stickers where they're supposed to be so the colors all line up, uh, we haven't really solved the Rubik's Cube. We've cheated our way to it. And the same thing can go for human beings. If we cheat ourselves through and we don't take the time to figure ourselves out, we won't succeed. And one of the greatest joys you should have as a teacher, a parent, as anyone working with children is watching them grow into uh, confident little people, develop a sense of pride in their abilities, and achieve things that they once thought were out of reach. And if we rush them to do that, then they won't do it.
Wow, that is so true. I remember when I was a kid, and like I told you, I'm the big vision person, the creative person, and math just was not for me.
Mhm.
And they try to fit me in that mold that I have to do math because it was just sitting there copying off the board, writing it 100 times, copying off the board. And then when there was something that I could apply it to, when I decided I wanted to be in electronics, and I had to learn calculus to be able to do electronics, to get my degree in electronics. When I applied the math to something that interested me, all of a sudden the world of math became interesting. And that's exactly what Rebecca does. Instead of trying to make the kids fit into the mold of a math student, she makes it interesting for them to learn to the point where they're learning without even realizing it. They're just playing.
Mhm.
So tell us, besides math, do you play any other games with them?
Yeah, we do reading activities where we've you know jumped into the characters and tried to feel the characters' emotions and tried to act out the characters and things like that. I mostly do math because I'm a pull-out teacher, so my focus is mostly math. A lot of the time for their gen ed class, for social studies and science, they're with their gen ed settings. So yeah.
I just love that it's becoming a whole new way of nurturing and growing children, which is what we're here to figure out how to do better. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I know I already asked you, do you have any last words? But we brought up so much stuff since then. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up with I believe that through education, empathy, inclusion, that we can create a world where neurodivergent individuals are not just accepted but celebrated for their unique contributions they make. Um, and I hope that my book can be a tool and effort in helping others to understand, accept, and support their neurodivergent individuals in their lives. And if you're a parent, teacher, advocate, I encourage you to explore the world of neurodiversity with an open heart and mind. My book is a starting point, but the real work comes in how we continue to foster understanding and acceptance every day in our schools and our communities. When we all come together to support our neurodivergent individuals, we create a better and more inclusive world for all.
100%. And just think of the future of our children when they're celebrating each other and come together to work together rather than this us versus them, the the normal versus the divergent. Well, we don't need these labels. They're just children. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for listening to Parents Talk. We'll see you later.